Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer Man. I'm Bobby Cool Daddy Slick Breeze, and I have with me my amazing co-hosts Eric Oakley and Robert McCaw. For our YouTubers, we're on a couple hours earlier. We're trying something different just to see if we can capture some different audience, new audience, the same audience, people that keep saying they want to watch reruns of The Office rather than watching us. So we thought if we were on earlier, maybe they'll join us. No, we're back, and we were here. Last week it was me and Robert. Did me and you do it, Robert? Last was that last week? Yeah, just me and you.
Yeah,
so
it was way better.
I mean, the ratings were super high.
And peak attendance.
Yeah, peak attendance, and you know how they have the hockey stick effect. I mean, we just had that hockey stick effect on the graphs as far as total view count, and overall listener satisfaction was way up. So
I get it.
Facts. I don't know that it has anything to do with you not being on there, Eric, but
no, it's just a coincidence.
Crazy coincidence.
We should test this theory.
We should test this theory. Yeah, and then you go. I'm out.
But also, I'll just be still on the show, but watching.
Nice.
Just watching it just to see.
All right, so we don't have a whole lot of questions. Of course, okay, I feel bad, but was there an event over the weekend? There wasn't a Disc Golf Pro Tour, right?
Major events.
Oh, okay, good. Then I maybe
two USDGC qualifiers, and some other small events. Lexington, 303. Goat Hill.
I had an event over the weekend though.
What'd you?
Pickleball event.
Yeah, tell us about it.
I played a pickleball tournament with the guy I've been playing with down here hurt his knee a few weeks ago. And so I played with another friend that I met up in Temple. Our first, we probably played 2 or 3 games together before this, period. So we lost our first match. We were just kind of out of sync, making bad decisions in general. So we went to the losers bracket. And after an hour wait, then we were on the court for 3.5 hours straight, just playing the next loser bracket game, and just beating people one by one, just working our way back up. So we worked our way all the way back to the gold medal match, which was sick. I think we won 6 or 7 in a row to do it. Then, then since we were coming from the losers bracket, we play a best of 3, and then if we win that, we play 1 game to 15. Well, we won the best of 3 in 2. We freaking worked them, and it was sick, and they were pissed. But we were freaking exhausted because we'd been on the court for 3.5 hours. So we got to the game to 15, and my partner and I were pretty wiped, and we lost that. So got silver though. That was pretty sweet.
Not bad, dude.
Yeah, for the first time playing with this bro, he was great. Stan's awesome. Lefty, and he hammers the ball. When he puts it away, he swings harder than, twice as hard as anybody on the court, and it just does stuff.
Yeah.
So. I just played real patient and just tried to set him up, and then when that worked, it was oh, that's good. Oh, nobody's touching that on the way back. So, yeah, it was a blast, man. We had a good time.
Nice.
I actually watched a little bit of pickleball over the weekend.
There's a couple tournaments this weekend.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. That's crazy watching those professionals.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, they're unbelievable. Similar skill level to what I'm playing at, professional to my level. So it's pretty much the same.
Oh, so
it's not the same. In case you're listening and you can't determine whether I'm being honest or not.
So let's see. So last week me and Robert made a bet about Calvin and Eagle and who would win a major.
Oh yeah.
Right. Me and Robert.
Who would win a major first between Calvin or Eagle?
Right. And someone.
Eagles won a major.
Yep.
The next major though.
That's not what we said.
The next major between the two of them.
Yeah. I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if Eagle had won one. I thought he had, but I wasn't 100%. Mm-hmm.
So
was it European Open?
He won
Australian Open.
Kona Piste.
Yeah, tell Robert you want to pick between Calvin and Eagle. You won the pick because Eagle won the Australian Open.
Yeah. Yeah, so okay.
So that doesn't count?
Yes, these are majors. That's true. I would like to make this bet for future majors.
You just don't want to pay up towards
No, it's okay. Just take all right, from now, who wins the next major between the two?
Okay, I'll give you that.
And
Actually, I had no idea until people pointed it out to me. They sent me messages.
Right.
I put money on Vinny just simply because Eagle's going to be out for a little bit. The next major he comes back to, he'll have maybe a month worth of lead up to practice, and maybe might not even be able to play depending on what he decides. So Calvin will have more shots at majors, and Vinny played DDO, so he knows the courses that we just played. Gives me the upper advantage at Worlds. US goes to Eagle. He's always been very close, but also is Vinny. Actually, no, I'd say that's a pretty even split. Going to D-Glow next year for Champions Cup, Nod's got to go to Eagle. So it's pretty split. I think it's all dependent on Eagle getting healthy.
Yeah, 100%.
That's really all it's about.
That's what it came down to for me. It's like when they're both 100%, man, I don't know whose ceiling is higher. They're both just unbelievable. But right now, Eagles just had a nagging injury, and I think Calvin's like right there. So that's what it was for me.
Speaking of bets, did you guys see the Kentucky Derby, 80-1 odds?
Whoa, that was nuts.
That's crazy though.
Did you see the like the finish and everything?
That's how I learned about it. There was some video on either TikTok or Reels.
Robert.
But it was I'll have to find it, but it was a top down view, so you got to actually watch as what was his name? Rich something. Anyway, he was like way behind, and you could just watch him just weaving in and out of the horses, and then just even in the final stretch, he still had a ways to go. And the announcers, you know how toward the end they're just like, and it's blah, blah, and it's blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, like right at the end, it was like, and it's Rich Tex coming from the inside. Oh my God. I mean, it was, 80-1 odds. And I read the story about it, and that horse wasn't, or they were an alternate, or however it works, they weren't in the race until a day or two before when another horse had to be pushed out or something.
Oh man, I was going to say something really I shouldn't have.
I'm glad you didn't. And so that was like a chance thing where they weren't sure they were going to be able to race, and they did, and they practiced for it and all that, and it was crazy. It's crazy.
That's awesome. And because I bet $200 on them, so that's cool too.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that'd be a pretty dang good payout.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, whatever. Sorry, inside joke, Eric. So, all right. Well, now that we got everybody in here, we're doing good. Someone gave us a thumbs down. We appreciate that. We
appreciate that.
We'll go ahead and jump into the questions.
I mean, that's just on brand. Just give us the thumbs down.
Right.
I might as well hit him with it.
Yeah, hit him with it. All right. So, let's see. Maybe I wonder if the thumbs down is Zach.
Probably
because of the title of my.
He noticed.
So anyway, what prompted the title of today's episode is this question from Matt. During the last run of Jonesboro Open, Calvin had Zach Melton as his representation/caddy. Do you think that manufacturers will begin to restrict who can caddy for their sponsored players, thus not allowing other manufacturer sponsored players to represent their brand while following their players on coverage? Thank you guys. Love the show. I would say you're thinking too much into it, overthinking this. Matt, I get I get the logic behind your question. I totally get where you're coming from with it. So I don't think it was a quote unquote like dumb question, but I think that you're just overthinking. I can't imagine a manufacturer not allowing a friend or somebody else caddy for them. What are the I guess there's. Go ahead.
There's no way. There's just no way. Like anybody who's like yeah, and we're gonna sign you, but like your friend, your homie that can help you play better, like he's not with us, so don't let him caddy. Like you immediately be like, yeah, I'm good. I'll go to another company. Like at that point, that's just like such a silly, would be a silly nuance to have in your contract. Like I understand trying to stay on brand, but I think that defeats what disc golf is about, and it's that family camaraderie, inclusive nature to disc golf is what people want, and the fans seeing that, it's better for Innova and for Dynamic in that situation to see them together, both companies win, which is good.
Doc Zen says they
And-
wouldn't let Kristen's daughter with the card. I could see them not letting other sponsored players caddy. That was a rule, a PDJ rule that because she was under 13 that she couldn't be caddying for him. So that's a rule. That's not a branding thing.
That's a different thing entirely. However, if Zach wasn't caddying for Calvin, we wouldn't have seen him and Joey Tamale make those hilarious faces after Calvin's drive on 18. That's one of my favorite clips of the year, because like those are the sort of shots that Calvin pulls off, where he lets the disc go and you're like, okay, it's gonna land. Okay, okay, that's 200 feet past everybody else. Oh, okay, wow, insane. Cool, man. Yeah, through a gap, takes what's like, I don't know, the hardest or second hardest hole on the course, and just makes it like, oh, here's a wide open approach.
So simple. Yeah, it was
it's pretty sick.
Yeah. So, but to the question of the show.
But I mean, I will say, I will say this though, just about Zach. I mean, I don't ever want him to caddy for me.
Right.
These are the facts. And on the other side of that, when Zach got onto Team Dynamic. When I was team manager there, I caddied for him a couple times, and we had a real curse for a little bit. Like anytime that I was on his bag, he played terrible. And so it took until like, I don't know, I think we were together for 3 events where he played bad, and I caddied for him once at Worlds, and he got 10th, and I was like, all right, curse is broken. We could be friends after that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, looks like Matt's on the board right now. He says, went for a good question and struck out. Still love you guys. No, you didn't strike out, Matt. That was a...
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just...
It sparks good debate.
Yeah.
And sparks good conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. No shot against you, Matt. It's just I don't think that we would ever see maybe not ever. Yeah. I don't think that it's likely for us to see manufacturers make that stipulation for players at this point.
Yeah, do you think... I mean...
Unless it's specifically against Zach, in which case I'm in favor.
Right. I'm just trying to think of others. I mean, I guess golf was really the only sport that would have a caddy, though. So, and they don't.
Yeah, but
they have paid caddies.
Yeah.
The caddy is
they're together all the time.
Yeah. All right. Next one is from JK in New Mexico. Is wearing a compression elbow sleeve legal while competing in a PDJ tournament? It does seem to aid in snapping one's arm back very quickly, and I couldn't throw well at all without wearing one when my tendinitis is acting up. So it could be argued that it is a device which directly assists me to make a throw.
Nope. You're good to wear them. I don't see any reason why it would be a hindrance and or a gain. If it's to prevent injury, it's good. I don't see other sports banning knee braces and elbow braces and ankle braces and stuff like that. So disc golf won't do anything of the sort. And, most braces are like that, and sleeves are... The benefit is minor. It is not... I don't know. It's not throwing the disc for you. Your body is still moving in a way. So, it's a... Yeah, definitely.
But... Do y'all remember that movie called, I think it was Rookie of the Year, where this kid breaks his arm and it has to be in a cast, and then when they take it off,
Rosenbagger.
He goes to play Major League Baseball because his arm just snaps down and he pitches super duper fast.
That's great.
I'm in for that. For the disc golf version of that, what do I have to hurt to do that? I'm in.
Yeah,
for sure. That is interesting though about having a device that assists you.
All right, well, then get rid of rangefinders.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
If we're gonna really dive into it, we've talked about it here. It's like rangefinders should be a practice tool only. They should not be allowed during competitive play.
Because golf doesn't allow it at all, right? You can. They don't even
not during
competition, right?
They can use them during practice rounds to make notes. For me, I think it's less of a competitive advantage and more of a time question. So I don't mind the competitive advantage. If one person can use them and everybody can use them, no problem. You could get a decent enough rangefinder for $100, and it's just fine. But if if you're shooting every target every time, that time starts to add up. So you've got to be pretty quick with the rest of your throw. Because, I mean, it's not a 5-second process to locate your rangefinder, get it out, acquire the target, make sure it's actually reading it, hit it a couple of times. It could take a little bit.
Yeah.
So what would you say? Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say. No, you go. No, you go. I'll stop. Go.
Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to mention, if we improve caddy books as well, you'll need less use of rangefinders. And this is where a lot of golf courses that are played on the PGA Tour, there are markers and references and things, and the caddy books are really, really well done to the point where they understand distances a little bit better. It's when you're in between those is whenever you have to have your notes and check, and that's why they do that in practice. So that, to me, leads us in that direction of, if we can improve some of the other spots where the caddy books are now presented by Bushnell. So and that's the one part that I don't want to disregard here, is Bushnell is coming in to being one of our best sponsors. I don't want to disregard them from being a part of our sport, because we shouldn't have them at pro level competition. But, every caddy book is sponsored by Bushnell, and, all the distance were checked with the rangefinder, so on and so forth. That is a better thing we could make use of to not lose out on that. It would be, that's where my brain goes, I suppose.
Yep, for sure. Super quick in the chat, I see Reese said, do some pros prefer to not have a caddy? Yeah, I think there are quite a few, because so here's what's untold about the downside of having a caddy, right? There are a couple of reasons that you wouldn't want to. One, and I think this is probably the most often stated reason, and probably the least likely to be accurate reason, is that a lot of pros say that they like the rhythm of having their bag on their shoulder, taking it off, putting it down, picking their disc, it just keeps them in rhythm. I think that's probably the least likely reason, because they just don't want to tell people like, hey, I don't want to have to interact with you during the entire round. And you know what I mean? Like, there are some people, like, there is a difference between carrying your bag and not. For me, it's always been beneficial to not carry my bag, just because I've got more in my legs left at the end of the round. However, I've almost always had caddies that I know personally, and that we kind of talk ahead of time, like, hey, this is what I need, this is what I don't. And when we've done that, things have been great. I've had one or two caddies from time to time, and I think this is probably the pros' experience, that the reason that they wouldn't want one is sometimes caddies try to do too much, right? They get in the way, make comments about the type of shot that they should have thrown, or what they should have been looking at. Or the worst one that ever happened to me was, I was in a final 9, and one of the guys who was walking with me, he wasn't my caddy, but he was walking right next to him, was like, hey, and on this hole earlier today, there's all this space over here. I threw into this tree on the right and took a bogey in the middle of a final 9. Guess what I did?
Took a bogey.
Like, don't put that mental image was nowhere near my head until you said that. So there is a fine line caddying between, like, not pointing out danger unless it's obvious and we need to talk about it, and just saying the right thing. Caddying is tougher than I think a lot of people think. And so for me, it's understandable that some pros just don't want to deal with the risk of that, right?
I will generally ask if I want something from them. If I start the conversation and it seems like I'm asking for advice on shots and or to discuss the game plan, perfect.
Great.
And there's another part of if I'm having a caddy, I want that caddy for all of my rounds as well.
Yeah.
The rhythm throughout the tournament is another important thing, where I've had people say, do you want me to caddy for you final round? I'm like, I'm good. If I don't have you for the first 2 days or 3 days, I'll be fine. Like, I will be in a rhythm at that point, And there are times where it doesn't really matter if I'm not playing well. I'm just like, sure, hop on the bag, we'll laugh and we'll make the most of it. But it's the ebbs and flows of it for sure, where you need to figure out what you want. And general rule of thumb, if you're going to be a caddy, just shut up. Just like legit, don't say
100%.
anything. Put your bag back there. Let them talk to you, because I've had situations where caddies have actually talked while people are throwing, and that's been that, and then that's on me. Like, it's
Yeah.
a courtesy warning on me, so that's another part of it.
How many reasons did you have, Robert?
What? Reasons to not be a caddy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you said 3.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
number 4 would be is if you're Zach Melton.
Yeah, correct.
Nailed it.
See, the thing is, like, for me too, especially if it's a friend of yours, like Zach caddying for Calvin, they've spent enough time together that Zach knows what Calvin needs to hear in a moment like that. Like, he knows that they probably don't want to talk about the shot. Calvin knows what he's going to throw. If anything, like, Zach's going to be there to kind of keep things light, tell him a joke so that he doesn't really feel the weight of the situation or something like that. Or just like Eric said, not say anything and just walk next to the guy. There's a really fine line between doing between doing great and then doing too much.
Yeah.
I would way rather you err on the side of doing too little. Put the bag on the back,
Agreed.
walk next to me, make sure that when I'm ready to throw the shot, we're next to each other. That is way better than asking questions, making recommendations, commenting on other players' shots. Just, we're here together, me and you. That's it.
And the other thing is that Zach, in that specific scenario, Zach and Calvin are good friends. So
Yeah.
Calvin is. I'm thinking for myself that would give you some sense of normalcy or some sense
Yeah.
of calm, having somebody that you've already hung out that evening, or that you've hung out at different events, and that you can kid around and stuff like that. And then if I need advice, I'll ask you. But otherwise, it's just me and you out, walking the course while playing a tournament.
We're chilling. Yeah.
To think about it from a advantage standpoint as well, is Zach played the course before Calvin did. So he knows what the wind is like in certain areas from what he's seen. Obviously the wind changes, and as we saw at the Dynamic Disc Open, it doesn't matter what you do in the wind. It just has its way with you. But that leads to the point of you can gain some really good advantages of Zach being there. It's like, I was on this green earlier, and it was on the left side, it's a straight headwind putt, and it lifted my putt like a lot. So like be wary, try and miss to the right, so you have that tailwind putt. So that is it's just interesting.
Yeah. So, all right, let's see. Let's go to Kansas disc golfer. This one's for Eric.
Oh, hi.
I would say, I'm sorry. I heard Eric say that people came out to watch pros bomb in these courses at the DDO were preventing that. I came to Emporia to watch pros struggle in the wind. There's something about the wind and the OB that really tests your mental strength. And this weekend we saw who has the best mental game. It's easy to have a good mental game when everything is going your way, but when you get an unfortunate skip or the wind blows you OB, what you do after that is what matters. How would you rate your mental game at DDO? Also, hot take. Conrad's tap-in putt that blew out was a bad putt. Anyone that's played in these winds could see it wasn't going to stay. He put it nose up and high in the chains.
Okay.
First,
So, go ahead before I start.
I know. This is not a knock against you, Kansas disc golfer, at all. Well, not really a knock. I'll just put it out there. I'm not trying to. I guess it's like I'm trying to be mean without being mean. I guess not be mean without being mean. But there's a thing it feels like with Kansas and Oklahoma disc golfers that they have a little bit of a nose up in the air when it comes to playing in the wind. I get it. I live in Oklahoma. I used to live in Kansas. It gets really windy. And I've played in super windy days, and I get it. You have to play in those windy days more often than other people, but it just feels like the tone of his question, and then seeing he's a Kansas disc golfer, it's almost like there's a little bit of a I can't describe. I can't think of the word, but kind of like a look. We play in the wind all the time, and I'm here. All these pros are complaining about the wind. So anyway, that may not be your tone, Kansas disc golfer. Just kind of, I've noticed that with people in Oklahoma and Kansas, they're like, it's kind of like tornadoes. I remember the one GBO, there was a huge tornado, and everybody else was freaking out, and everybody from Oklahoma and Kansas was like, what is okay? Everything's fine. We'll be okay. It's just a little tornado.
Yep.
Anyway, now you can do your thing, Eric.
Okay, to start, hard disagree on all accounts, because we'll start with the first point of you wanted to see people struggle. Like, why is that your form of entertainment? First off, I just have a big issue with that, as that doesn't make sense. If you genuinely think every player went out into those wins and was trying to throw correct shots and work their way into the win, that they haven't played in some crazy wins before, that they have. We all have. And it leads to the point where in those types of wins, a lot of what happens is taken out of your control. And that's the whole part of disc golf, of what makes the best players, is their ability to control the disc from the moment it releases their hand to the moment it touches the ground or it's in the basket. So that's a part of what we didn't see at the DDO in the first 3 rounds, is what you were watching was people not necessarily, getting fortunate breaks with the wind and bounces and other things. Now, those players who did play well had to throw many really good shots in the wind to get those favorable results. But I watched all weekend, or watched players throw great shots, and it did not matter. It did not matter. The whole result was taken out of their control. And that is where that level of wind becomes an issue with dictating our sport. Wind should be a factor. It should not be the deciding factor. It should be just a part of what we deal with. So that comes into it. Do I believe that the courses at DDO didn't allow us to showcase people being able to drop bombs and stuff like that? In the conditions, no, it did not. But I do think, and I said this on our morning coffee, that I do think both Jones Supreme and Country Club, outside of a couple changes and a couple rule things here and there, but that's every tournament we play, they are going to be great courses when the conditions call for it. If the conditions, likely when we go there in the summer, or in August, I believe it is, for Worlds, I would imagine we will see people put up some really good scores and kind of take it to those courses just based on that they are attackable, that you're going to see the elevated skills that the top professionals have. To touch on your next point, did I have a good mental game? Absolutely, I did. I had one moment where I got frustrated. And it was early on, and I immediately flipped the switch and was like, "That's old. That's not what we're doing. It's not what we're out here to do." And I continued to play. So to say that the best players had the best mental game and they just battled the wind better, it's like those two factors are also true, but you're missing a big glaring factor, that the wind didn't shaft them like it did other players. So most of the time, whenever I felt like I threw shots that were good that ended up bad, was most of them were inbounds, and then blown OB, I thought it was on hyzer, but was moving right towards OB, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in that situation of I'm throwing most overstable disc on hyzer, and it's not even getting left or getting back in bounds. I'm at a loss. So a lot of the things that happened to me that made my score worse than it could have been were anytime I made a quote-unquote mistake or a blunder happened, my stuff went out of bounds. My stuff was always adding extra strokes that I could not recover from. Now, I believe a lot of the players who played well, they had the same situations happened, but maybe their disc didn't blow OB. Maybe their disc just caught a tree and stayed short and didn't end up in a spot to where it wasn't compounding on their scorecards. They were able to salvage their pars due to some good fortune. So that all plays into this factor of, I had a great mental game. I felt like I was throwing the disc very, very well. I had one small streak of where I did not putt the disc well, and that was, I missed 3 circle 1 putts, and they're all in quick succession, and then I did not miss a single one the rest of the tournament outside of maybe like a really, really windy putt, but that was like to be expected. It was outrageously windy. I was putting with a zone half the time at the weekend. So to summarize, I think your outlook is similar to what Bobby was talking about on what you're trying to see. Next point, we need to set wind standards for the PDGA, because what we were playing in was not actual disc golf. It becomes a different sport at that point. And lastly, I had a great mental game, and I was positive, and I did my best, but it felt like that did not matter. I could throw the disc well, I could throw the right discs, but it did not matter. So, yeah. What do you guys have to say?
I have a quick question.
I should have put the sad face filter on you.
Sad one. Just go back and do it, because it'll be pretty pretty comical.
It'll be perfect. Okay, so I will push back on the win standard portion, just because I think it's unreasonable to have an event scheduled and ready to go, and for people to actually be able to physically play in it, like to not be in physical danger, to only be in like score danger, right? Mm-hmm. And then to not play the event, right? So like I get it if there's a lightning delay, tornadoes, things like that where people are in physical danger, get it. But I think it would be
extreme wind. Golf will delay for extreme wind.
Delay. Okay, I can hear that. I thought you were saying like, hey, it's just going to be too windy today, so we're canceling the round or canceling the tournament. I think that would be tough to do personally.
Agreed. So something to back up that point, so I can give you a little more information on my thoughts to that regard. Of one, the scheduling is atrocious. The scheduling of our events is really, really bad. We have this set schedule that we've had for a while, and we're running into a couple issues. Events don't want to move weekends because it's been their weekend always. It's like, no, right. Mold, adapt to change, because there is no reason we should be in Kansas in the springtime when it is it's such a high likelihood that we're going to have those types of conditions. Go to Kansas in the summer. Go to Kansas when, you might have a pop-up storm here and there that'll bring some wind, but at least the winds are to a manageable level, not to this extreme winds, because that's just when it's really windy there. So that's where the schedule is wrong. Not to mention the fact of what we saw happen of playing a major followed by 2 back-to-back Elite Series events. Was really, really poor on the planning side. I understand there aren't many weekends, but start us earlier, end us later. Give us more gaps, and also shift the schedule so we're not in Kansas in the springtime. If we're in Kansas in the summer, I don't think there's an issue. We could have been in California. We could have been in Oregon at this time frame. What's the issue? Oh, it might be a little cold, rainy, and windy. Or not windy, cold, rainy, and that's it? Mm-hmm. That's all you're going to be dealing with? Fine. I would take cold and rainy over playing in the extreme winds. Any day. And that's where the shit needs to happen. We should be on the West Coast right now to avoid this, to avoid these conditions. And I think it's very doable. I know we're going to run into issues with getting a lot of wind in tournaments. It's going to happen. But trying to figure out a standard would at least work. But if we're not going to figure out a standard, then fix the schedule.
Trying to find
that's my goal.
Official rule on PGA.
Like sometimes in PGA, the ball will not stay still.
I see they have wind delays because there's an article about Jordan Spieth. Is it Spieth or Spieth?
Spieth.
Spieth was doing something during a wind delay at the 2015 something or other.
Yeah, and I mean, there's something to
Open
be said
champion.
too that disc golf discs are more adversely affected by wind than golf balls are. I mean, just because of their size and the fact that they have a dynamic flight. Like it can go two ways in one flight instead of just one, right? So yeah, I mean, I had never really thought of a standard like that. I think it'd be difficult to enforce, but I do hear what you're saying. Like,
Well,
yeah,
if
we can't do that, why not switch it? You know?
Yeah. One of the
I
pushbacks
hear
I
that.
had was, well, what if it's a wooded course where you can't feel the wind and it's not really affecting the play, but there's extreme winds? It's like, do you have to delay then?
You have
It's
to
like,
cancel
okay,
it then,
that's-
yeah.
So that's why I would rather start with adjust the schedule. And then if we continue to have this issue no matter what, like it's just for whatever reason we can't get the schedule, then we start to implement what we think is right. And that's just what it has to be. And I said this to Steven Story, I said this to Doug Bierkus, I said stop having the event in the springtime. That is my one qualm. I enjoyed the event. I think the courses are great. I think the courses are going to play very well for Worlds. The only issue is that I wish they had a more wooded course, but it's Emporia, Kansas. You're not going to get a world-class wooded course there. There isn't woods to do that. It's just how it is. So what we have to do is, understand that they have worked really hard. They are going to run a great event, and I think in the summer, the courses are going to play fantastically. You're going to see players really showcasing how good of disc golfers they truly are.
Right. Yeah,
I
sure.
can find a bunch of articles about different events being delayed, but I was just curious at like what sets the standard. What is the standard? Like, in other words, this is a condition. We've now met this, so now we have a delay. I couldn't seem to find that. Someone said something about PGA will call it if the ball cannot sit on the greens because the greens are so fast. Wind at a certain point will blow the ball off the green. Right, but like, does someone just literally go to a green and put the ball down and say, okay, the wind's blowing the ball, let's call it off? There's got to be something. There was one article talking about meteorologists and stuff like that, but that's like super technical stuff. I couldn't find any specific rules.
right.
So anyway, interesting, because when you said winter standards, like I was kind of in the same boat as Rob. I was like, "What are you going to cancel an event because of a wind delay? That seems weird." But then when you said PGA has wind delays, I was like, "Interesting." So interesting. All right, next question comes from Andrew. Rules clarification. When you're inside the circle, you can't step putt the traditional way because it advances you past your lie, and the rules state that you have to maintain your balance behind your lie. But is it legal to step into your putt to generate power inside the circle if you maintain balance behind your lie the entire time?
Yep. Jake Kiebenheimer does it with his horseshoe putt. And it works. As long as you're maintaining balance behind your lie, you can step into it. You could sprint into it if you could stop yourself if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. You could jump and then land, then putt. Like as long as you are maintaining balance behind your putt.
Yeah. You could plant your elbow as your supporting point behind your lie and putt like that if you wanted to, as long as you didn't touch the ground in front of it after you let it go. Mm-hmm. Go right ahead. Do you.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what happens leading up to the point, as long as when you let the putt go, from there, you establish your balance behind your line. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna try the sprint inside the circle putt though, and just see how it goes.
I mean, if you could figure out how to do it, putt would come out so fast.
You'd have to let the putt just toss it up. Like you wouldn't even have to move it forward. You're just using your momentum to push it.
Yep.
I'll make a video, guys.
I'm in.
I want to see a video of that. All right, last question.
I don't know if I have good enough knees to stop that quickly, but we're going to test it out.
Last question comes from Jake. How do you recover from a bad stretch of holes in a tournament? I find myself imploding after a bad set of holes, only making the bad worse. So this is a question that comes up quite often.
It's a good question.
It is a very good question because a lot of people go through it. The biggest thing I can think of is what I've heard before is just having short-term memory.
Did
you say go fish?
No,
Goldfish.
be a goldfish.
Oh, be a goldfish. Yes, from Ted Lasso. Yeah, just having a short-term memory. Just you have to learn from it and move on and move on. I mean, you just have to let it go. I mean, and it's not as simple as just, I mean, you can say it, I'm going to let this go. But unless it's something you practice and you do a lot and you have a lot of bad experiences and you train yourself to let go, it's something you have to work on is actually literally letting go of the past and moving forward.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah, go ahead, Rob.
super fast. Just as one thing that you could practice, um, when you have a bad hole, in your mind, it's like as soon as your disc is in the basket, or honestly, like if even if you have a bad throw, as soon as the throw is on the ground, treat it as if it never happened. Like, don't talk about it again. Don't think about it again. Like, acknowledge where your disc is, and then move forward. Like we talked about a couple of weeks ago with Eric. You can say, oh man, I threw that disc a little low, or man, that was a late release. But don't ever say, oh gosh, that was a bad shot, or oh man, I'm just not throwing well today, because like not throwing well today like your last shot doesn't dictate your ability to throw the next shot. You always have the same ability to throw a shot regardless of your situation. It's just whether mentally you can allow yourself to do it. Okay? So, when you have a bad hole, you tap in a bogey, double bogey, whatever it is. Don't look back at the basket. Don't think about that hole. When that score goes down, you say whatever number it is. Say you got a 6. They say, Robert, 6. On to the next hole. I'm already thinking at that point, what's my target on the next tee shot? I'm addressing that hole 0 times until after the round is over, when I can properly assess it without it having an impact on my score, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the best thing you can do is just hard reset and look forward to the next shot, because your potential to throw a good shot is equal to what it was before. Nothing has changed other than your mindset.
I think uh, the common thing that happens is people forget why they play disc golf. You don't go play disc golf because you're trying to be the best player right then and there, and you're not allowed to miss, and you have to be perfect and all that stuff. That's not why you play. And if that's why you play, I'm sorry, you're gonna continually be disappointed, because you're not gonna be
Right.
perfect. You're likely not going to be the best player ever unless are starting right now and devote your entire life to it. Then you have a chance. But at that point, it's not guaranteed. It's a chance. And so much of what has to happen, you have to remember that, all right, cool, I am learning in this moment. I am getting better in this moment. I am understanding how to become a better player in this moment. And that concept is so often forgotten. It's definitely is it's just about it's all about it. Like, you have to look at each situation as an opportunity to learn. Yeah, it's okay to be frustrated, but it needs to be frustrated for a quick moment, and then you now need to be constructive about what you're going to do next. Because the next thing you can do has no, like, what you just did has no basis on what you're going to do now, unless you let it. And if you let it, you're setting yourself up for not success, for failure. So remember why you play. Look to learn from those moments. And I mean, I look at Champions Cup as a prime example. For me, I made multiple mistakes in a row, and I bogeyed 3 holes straight. Just bogey. But I never got down. I was just like, all right, well, yeah, you threw a bad approach. That's how you get a bogey. Then what I did was I rattled off 4 birdies in a row. I don't have those 4 birdies in a row if I keep feeling, if I keep that negative thoughts of like, oh, you had a turkey of bogeys, like, you're stupid, blah blah blah. It's like, no, it's just like, it's all good. Like, we're gonna go through another shot. Like, yeah, like, just keep positive, keep remembering why you play.
100%.
Dude, Nate's
Hundo.
so true. Throwing
Hundo
discs is
P.
dope. Like, going out, seeing a disc fly, is so dope.
Cool. I was looking through the comments to see what people said. Yeah, a lot of people said, like, Reese said, learn to stop interacting. Or no, I tend to put my head down and my shoulders slump. Yeah, your body. You got to watch, even after the bad shot, you got to watch how is your head down, is your shoulders down, because your body is showing what you're feeling, and you've got to, like, in a sense, like, get your body back into positive mode so that your brain can be in positive mode as well. So hold your head up, put your shoulders up, put your chest up high. And as Eric mentioned, don't do that negative self-talk. Don't beat yourself up over it. Now learn from it. And I also like what Robert said, where he said, acknowledge your shot. I mean, this is all, it sounds weird, but this is stuff that, like, I've read about in books about everything in life. Is like, because a lot of times in me, when I try to be Mr. Motivational, Mr. Everything's great, which is good, but a lot of times it'll be like, if I have negative thinking or negative thoughts, it'll be like, stop thinking that negative thought. Stop. And I had to learn
Which makes you think that negative thought.
Right. And it becomes almost what they call a feedback loop from hell. In other words, you're like, you think the negative thought, then you get mad because you're thinking the negative thought. So you're mad at yourself for being mad at yourself for having a negative thought. Mm-hmm. And so a different approach is to validate, acknowledge the negative thought, acknowledge that it did happen, sit in it, be with it, acknowledge it, and then move forward, because that way you're not double negative. You're not, you had a bad shot and then you're beating yourself up for the shot. No, acknowledge that you had a bad shot, acknowledge that something bad happened, sit with it, and then tell yourself, okay, time to move on.
Like looking at DDO, like I said, I had one moment where I was frustrated after missing a couple circle one putts, and I got frustrated, and I was like, whoa, all right, we're not going to do that. It's okay. Like, we're good. And like, I had to like have that talk with myself in the moment, and I said, like, like right now is like where I'm going to be better. And I went to the next hole, threw a good shot, and got the birdie. So it was like, it just had to happen, but it took some serious time, like of a lot after, like a lot last year, where I was in plenty of moments where I just didn't feel good, and then I let it compound. But thinking how I am now, like it's so different. And
you're such an idiot, dude.
What?
Stop. Everyone can hear it.
No, but how I actually am now, it's very different. But it took a lot of actual work, and like Bobby said, I had to, it's okay to be mad. It's okay, but like, don't get mad for being mad, because that just compounds. Just allowing yourself to look at your growth and be better. It's like accepting it's going to be hard.
Yep. Cool. All right, well, that's all the time we have, everybody. We appreciate you sending the questions. Appreciate you checking in, watching the show live on YouTube. If you're listening and you haven't been able to watch the show at 7 p.m. Central on Mondays, we're trying something a little different, see how if it'll work with everybody's schedule. But we're going live at 5 p.m. Central, just to get earlier on a Monday, so we can get that in. So check us out, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. We are still 25 away, I think. Or at least we were at the beginning of the show. 23, nice. We got 2 subscribers. So 23 away from giving away a Dynamic Discs Combat Ranger bag. That's awesome stuff. Also, I want to give a shout out to all our current Patreon surprisers. Supporters.
Surprise. You're on Patreon.
You're on Patreon. Yeah, I got your credit card number, so surprise.
Surprise.
You support us. No, I was going to give a shout out to our most recent patron, who is somebody, bring it up. What's his name? Jebediah. Thank you so much, Jebediah, for becoming a Patreon supporter on April 29th. We appreciate that. That's the most recent one. But a shout out to everybody that's on there as well. Appreciate y'all. Let's see. Anything else we guys got?
No.
Good,
nope.
Man. I'm about to go eat dinner and play some pickleball and
all right,
think about all my bad shots.
Nice. I think exclusively bad shots. So, all right. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. Take care, meow.